You're entering VTV's Chamber Zone. Your business community at work. Representing the Vernal area and Duchesne County Chambers of Commerce, here's Adam Massey and Irene Hansen.
Hi, I'm Adam Massey with the Vernal Area Chamber of Commerce, and my co-host Irene Hansen with the Duchesne County Chamber is out today. So I've invited Joni Crane with our Legislative Impact Committee and Council to be here with me today. And Joni, welcome. We're glad to have you. I appreciate you being here with me. And a lot of important things happened at the legislature this year. And I know there was quite a few bills that we were watching as a chamber. And the reason we developed this council is we really wanted to get input from businesses and different organizations in our area on how some of these bills would affect them. And you were the perfect fit to chair that committee and council, and so we appreciate you doing that. But maybe you can give us some of the highlights, and we can kind of talk about to our listeners today some of the things that we were able to do out at the legislature.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I know that when we were going into this, I was asked to help form a council of people to get together and talk about legislative issues that are important to the Uinta Basin. In the process, I at first was wary because many people know I'm the chair of the Republican Party, and I thought that perhaps they would think that my views would be slanted. So it's been very nice to have the confidence of the committee and those people in the chamber who are understanding of my role, and that I am able to set that aside. So we are not looking out for any particular party's views on the legislative issues that we're focusing on. But I guess our goal of our committee was to take a look at legislation, listen to our industry members and the members of the Vernal Area Chamber of Commerce, and if they had legislation that was affecting them, whether negatively or positively, we were going to advocate for them if they needed it, or just help them learn how to maneuver the system.
Sure.
And do things that are in their own best interest that will help the business climate in Vernal. So it was interesting, the first time we ever had anybody approach us, it was at a chamber meeting. I think it was when we had the governor out. And I was sitting there, and Joni Massey came up to me, your wife, but she's also on the committee. She came up to me and said, "Joni, we've got Brady Trucking here. They are having problems with the Motor Carrier Act." And it wasn't a piece of legislation, but it was a regulatory agency they were having problems with.
Right.
And do you want to explain what was going on?
As we got into that, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration in the past has had what they call an oil field exemption. And that was going to affect the trucking industry because a lot of people that haul water or sand would get to location, and in the past they've been able to, once they got to location, if they weren't able to get their load off at that time, they actually went off the clock. And what Federal Motor Carrier was asking to do was to keep them on the clock the whole time. So it was going to cost industry more money. They were going to have to bring another driver out, because when that driver timed out, they would have to bring somebody else out to get in the truck. They would sit there, wait, whatever they had to do before they could unload. So it was really going to hurt industry. And what was great about that, with your help, and we had most of our legislative people here at that time, you were able to get them together into a roundtable discussion, and before we got through with that meeting that day, we had, I'll let you tell about it, but we had a letter signed.
It wasn't just me, and that's the misnomer. It's not me. It's actually a huge group of people that we have to draw from, a lot of skills. At that particular meeting, a friend of mine who is actually a lobbyist for the oil and gas industry, he was there, and he'd had a lot of experience in this and in lobbying. And we actually called him over really quickly to sit with the members, the owners of Brady Trucking and some of the management team, and explain to them, what their options were as far as strategies were concerned. Different people they could approach. Would they want to approach union people? Would they want to approach legislators? Where could they get the most satisfaction as quickly as possible? Because it was really going to hurt their business.
Absolutely.
They were actually going to have to taxi people back and forth to their trucks because they would not be allowed to drive anymore. So it wasn't just their business it was going to affect. It was going to affect a lot of our service companies in the oil field.
Absolutely.
So that was fun to help them. Right now, as it stands, that is it has been pulled back. It's been put on hold. It may come back, and that's how these things are. But we are hoping for now, it's on the back burner for a while.
Exactly. So that's one we were able to help with, and we felt really good about that. Another one I'll briefly go into, the property tax modification bill that was set forward by our representative, John Mathis here, who did a fantastic job. This bill is also known as a split estate bill, and you know, it was really a fairness bill, and trying to explain it, the bill relieved landowners from a tax burden that could be unfairly placed on them. If a farmer owned a piece of ground and an energy company came in that had the mineral rights and wanted to drill on that ground, once that energy company came in and drilled, then the farmer could be assessed back taxes on that, and at a higher tax rate. And so it was really an unfair, and even the energy people recognized that. They said, yeah, we don't want to place that burden on a landowner because we're drilling for oil or gas there. And so Representative Mathis was able to get that passed, which will help a lot. And I had an opportunity to go on the House floor with him as he debated that bill with some of his colleagues and was trying to garner support for it. And a few people came by and asked him about it while I happened to be sitting there. It was a great opportunity for me because I'd never had that opportunity before. And you know, and listen to him as he explained to them how it would benefit. And it was really interesting because 3 or 4 of them said, "Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I totally get that." And yeah, and it was a pretty easy sell once he had an opportunity to explain that.
Well, sometimes the easiest way to fight something too is by giving an example, because a lot of times these bills come up to our senators and our House members, and they look at the bill and they think, "Oh, that's a silly bill." You know, they don't understand the context of why it was brought forward. And one of the first things that you can do that's most valuable is to contact them right away, whether you agree or disagree, and don't assume the worst when you're calling them. Don't think that they plotted against you, or you know they're trying to torture you by their bill. But when you sit and speak with them and ask them, you know, what was the context and what was this going to remedy? When you start asking them what it's going to remedy, and then they give you an example, then all of a sudden you have a new understanding. And there's a lot of laws that are on the books that were intended for good purposes, but they have unintended consequences.
I'm going to stop you right there, Joni. You're exactly right. We're just running out of time, but we'll be right back to talk more about your local chamber and city events right after this.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
Welcome back to Chamber Zone, your business community at work. Joni, as we were talking in the last segment, we were highlighting some of the bills at the legislature this year. Some that would have an impact on us that we were able to get defeated, some that would help us. And one of those that was we took a stand against. Why don't you update us on that and let us know kind of where we're at with that one, and let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's a bill that a lot of people were unhappy with. It's been temporarily defeated, but there's a chance it's going to come back. What it was Senate Bill 81, Property Tax Equalization for Education Bill. And what it was going to do is statewide there would be a levy that would be placed on all property owners, and we would all have to raise our property taxes to a certain level in order to meet that minimum levy. Then in communities that had a lot more that they generated from property tax money, all of the excess property tax money would have gone into a general fund at the state level. Right. And then that would have been allocated out to all school districts in an attempt to make them equal. Well, what it would have done to Uinta County is it would have taken, it was also retroactive. It would have gone back to January 1st of 2013.
To affect budgets for this year.
Yeah, this year's budgets would have been impacted. It would have taken $52,000 out of the Uinta School Board budget. It would have taken $12,500 out of the Duchesne County School Board budget, and I think about $2,500 out of Daggett County's budget. Right. In order to make up that money, they would have had to go through a truth in taxation process, which is not an easy way to raise money,
Right.
because you're going to the voters and you're asking them to tax themselves, and we all know we don't like to tax ourselves.
Absolutely.
So as soon as that was completed, then they were also going to have to increase or propose budgets for the following year, and they would have had, if they wanted to increase them from the previous year, they would have had to come back to the voter again in the same year and do another truth in taxation and ask us to tax ourselves a second time.
Again.
This is all completely separate than from the fact that they might want to float a bond for repairs to the high school or an additional high school, some of those issues that have been floated out there.
Now,
That would be a third time we would be taxing ourselves. And the likelihood that our citizens in our county are going to self-tax themselves 3 times in order to raise money for our school district are pretty slim.
Well, and the best part of that I liked is the money was going to be redistributed to some of the Alpine School District.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it was going to the poorer school districts to help them. It was going to some of the richer school districts other than Park City, which was going to be affected negatively. We had Davis, Weber, and Jordan, so it wasn't going to, you know, there wasn't a fairness thing to it.
It
I guess
wasn't fair.
Yeah.
And there are 43 school districts in the state of Utah, I believe, and out of all of those districts, 25 of them were going to have funding removed from them and then put in this pot of money. We went in and we got a group of people, and the group of people we had on board was incredible because it was going to make every homeowner's property taxes go up and every business's. And our biggest taxpayers in this county are our oil and gas industry people.
And it would have
You see those big checks in the paper that they write every year, and they get their
For their
picture,
property
here's our
taxes.
property taxes we're paying
Absolutely.
to the county. Well, what makes a worse environment for a business to do business somewhere than to have all these burdens? They already have all these burdens with the EPA, the federal government, the
regulations,
leasing,
exactly.
and to add on to that, higher property taxes. That's just another burden they don't need. They're already good citizens and good stewards of our money, and they help our citizenry here.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to get together. We did have a lot of industry people. We had our senators on board. We had our radio station. Steve Evans and Lincoln Brown at KVEL did a lot to promote and let people know what was going on. We also had Mark Caldwell, who was an advocate for the UNS School Board, and they all signed on in full. Jerry Steglich from Daggett County and their commissioners, and our Uintah County commissioners, and also Duchesne County commissioners. So it was a huge group of people that came together. I even had friends of mine on the Hill who are like the Eagle Forum and Gil Ruzicka. When they heard about this bill, they said, this is totally unfair. They said, let me know what to do. We'll stand outside the doors when you can't get out here from Vernal, and we'll pass notes to congressmen. So we had just a ton of help on this bill. We did get it stopped, and we used a couple of really good arguments to get it stopped, like it's taxation without representation. And I actually at one point wrote a letter stating, picture a home in Mighton and a picture in Alpine, of a home in Alpine, and decide if you can, with good conscience, take the property taxes of this homeowner and pay for the children's schooling of the person who lives in the home of Alpine. I mean, that just, you know, it's just
Puts
not right.
it in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It
So we
absolutely-
had all the help we could get on these issues, and we were able to defeat it. In speaking with Senator Van Tassel just recently, he said, well, it's defeated for now, but it has been added into the summer interim transportation study. And this is a tactic that's used a lot, where they know that our region would benefit from something, and so they want to get something passed, and they know we would be the most opposed to it. And so they add it to something that will benefit us, hoping that we
Down the
will
road.
pass it in an effort to get greater funding from something else.
And the one thing that I really appreciated that you were able to do through the radio station there is we were able to get the public involved and get the word out. And we had, I know, because listening to the station, you had a lot of individuals call and say, oh, how do I get involved? Who do I need to call? You know, and I remember telling them, oh, don't call our senators or our state rep. They're already on board with it. But here's everybody else's numbers and names, and you can go to these websites. You know, so the next time somebody tells you that as an individual they can't get involved and they can't make change, that was a perfect example to me that we were able to do that you were able to do that, the committee was able to do that. People made phone calls, and the legislators listened to their constituents. That's who they want to hear from. Because if you don't call and they're only hearing the other side of it, they're thinking, well, people aren't opposed to this. They think it's a good thing. So, you know, it is. It's great to have everybody behind it and have the support. But if you don't let those legislators know, And you got to be careful.
Sometimes the legislators or the individual callers are the best people to get calls from because they're personal stories, and they might see me coming and go, okay, she's got an agenda, we know she wants something from us. But having a homeowner call, it makes a big difference.
It does, and when they understand how it's going to impact them, and I made this comment before, everybody went home that night after that bill was defeated with more money in their pocket that they're going to spend in the economy, which is going to help our commerce, which is what the Chamber of Commerce is about. And so I was excited about that because it gave us that opportunity. Well, we could go on for hours. I know there was a lot of stuff that happened at the legislature this year. We appreciate your efforts. It's been a great program. Thanks for being part of Chamber Zone with us today, and please join us right here next time on VTV Channel 6, where we'll address other important topics. Thanks, Joni.
Thank you.